VLR.
This show is produced by IJReview.com.
This show is copyright by VLR Media. All opinions of panelists and guests are their own and may not reflect the opinion of VLR Media, the host, or anyone else.
Let's be clear. Now let's be clear. There are no winners here. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. There are no winners here.
Two minds are better than one. Time for the right mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum.
Welcome to the show. You are listening to The Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum. Thank you so much for doing so. If you're streaming on the internet right now, thank you for listening. If you're listening to us via the archived app at a later time or date, thank you for that as well. If you'd like to call in this segment, please do. 412-567-6879. A little later on, second half hour of the show, we will have friend of show and personal friend of both of ours, Mark Tapson on. But very important today, Josh Earnest yesterday explained to reporters that the United States needs to redouble efforts to explain what the tenets of Islam actually are. This was in response to a question about how the U.S. might respond to the terror attack. So that is the theme of today's show. We are redoubling our efforts. And the implication of redoubling, of course, is that we've already expended copious energy explaining, understanding, discussing, mincing, arguing, and laying out the true tenets of Islam. Today we're going to be redoubling those, just as an FYI.
Dude, I mean, I think, and when I sent you this, and you responded that needs to be the theme, and you were exactly right, but I think we need to go farther. I think that on the Right Mics website, we should, under the Right Mics, we should have a subhead redoubling our efforts to explain the true tenets of Islam on a daily basis.
You know what, Mike? I just think that's really important. Especially, I think that, frankly, the more I consider this, the more I think this is an issue just in terms of daily life, but especially in the context of these non-Islamic atrocities in Paris, that we need to spend a lot of time. I mean, obviously, these guys have described themselves as doing this on behalf of the Prophet, whatever. And obviously, we could ignore what it is they have to say because, as we know, it doesn't have anything to do with Islam, regardless of what they say.
Well, of course not. And if we have any doubt, we need only check with, we're talking about the Earnest story right now. We check with Barack Obama, Imam John Heinz Kerry, any number of liberals, and they will assure us of that. So I think we need to join that effort, dude.
I think so, too. And I think, it is important for me to note that the official White House spokesperson is making this such a plain priority. So on part of that, in terms of redoubling our efforts of, explaining what the tenets of Islam actually are, I'm going to go ahead and explain what the fundamental tenet of Islam is. And I'm going to do it twice as a symbolic nod to the redoubling efforts. And that is Islam brings a message of peace. Islam brings a message of peace.
Exactly. And one need know no more. Here's Ernest. We don't have the clip, but just a couple of words from his statement. There are some individuals that are using a peaceful religion. They always have to work that in there, don't they? And grossly distorting it and trying to use its tenets to inspire people around the globe to carry out acts of violence. And I cut through the rest of it because it all sucks anyway. But so we're going to redouble those efforts in the days and weeks ahead. So Hausum, here is my, as they used to say, even before my time, $64,000 question. And I've asked this repeatedly in different manners. why is it the liberals' job to make sure we're all clear as a bell about the tenets of the peaceful religion? Why is that their job to make sure we're all up to speed on that?
You know what? I don't know. Why does it even have to be a thing at all?
Well, see, because it's also. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I don't understand why that has to be the thing. I mean, the takeaway that these guys, by the way, I discovered this later. You know that clip that we played yesterday, that famous clip, the president said that the future does not belong to those that slander the Prophet of Islam.
Right.
Do you know that comment was made specifically about this very satirical French magazine that printed these cartoons?
I did not know that, but that's fascinating.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I just assumed that this was part of his apology tour or something like that. But the specific context was, and I'll have to find the link. I've seen it several times now. The specific context of the president's comment was this this French magazine,
Charlie Hebdo.
Charlie Hebdo.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Let's joking, and it's hard for me to say joking aside because that's rare for me. I definitely think that on our blog post we need to print whatever amalgamations of these cartoons that we can, don't you think?
Yeah, I put one up yesterday on Facebook, and I saw this morning that Weasel Zippers, I love Zip, he's put all of them up, at least those that he could find. I will tell you who I was surprised as hell. The Washington Post printed one of those cartoons yesterday.
I saw that. You know what?
They would have been on my bottom of the list of lib rags who would do that. Now, a columnist for New York Times, I don't have this in front of me, but wrote in defense of freedom or whatever, and they were going to do this and call it chicken out or whatever, but at the end of the day, the New York Times did not publish it. But yeah, WAPO published it.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Let's put them up.
And I think, it's interesting. Who was I listening to? Oh, I was listening to Dennis Miller yesterday, and he was talking about this, and he's like, you know what? What a perfect what a perfect response to this is that everybody should publish them. I mean, everybody should. And obviously, he's like, of course, not that many will. In fact, you know what? It reminds me. Let's. Mark Stein was on Megyn Kelly last night, and Stein, being about 1/3 of the inspiration for everything I write, the other 1/3 being Milt Friedman, and the other third being Tom Sowell. But Stein's probably my favorite guy. You want to just play that clip right now? What he had to say about this?
Let me throw one thing in real quick.
Oh no, please do. Sure.
No, I'm just relative to this part of the point, because I love Stein as well. And in fact, I want to talk about him even more after we play the clip. But, the question again, this nonsense about explaining the true tenets of Islam, think about this, people. Let's pretend, okay, everyone in the country took a class, everyone. And everyone in this country were able to pass a test and get 100%, get them all right on the true tenets of Islam, okay? What in the hell impact or difference would that have on what happened in Paris, on ISIS, on radical Islam all over the world? See, Michael, that's what's so hilarious about it, because, it's like oranges and apples almost. It doesn't make any difference if everyone understands the true tenets of the peaceful religion.
Right. It's if we flip it to an economic context or an economic analogy, the true tenet of communism is that everybody should get that which they need, and that theft and control and power from those who are more privileged will be eliminated. I mean, you could describe communism in a true tenet sort of way that just about everybody would be on board with. But whether or not that's a true tenet has nothing to do with the real world.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost like, you listen to Ernest, you listen to Heinz Kerry, you listen to Obama, every time they bring up the whole peaceful religion trademark, it's as if, and it is, their primary objective is to not have people badmouth Islam. Not to condemn what happens, and they condemn what happens along the way. Of course, any statement never says Muslim terrorism, never says Islamic terrorism. But it's as if, again, they're more concerned about protecting peaceful Muslims, Michael.
Yeah, and so what? I mean, honestly, so what?
Exactly.
Whether or not, let's just assume that the vast majority of all Muslims absolutely condemn this behavior. Well, you know what? It's time for them to start cleaning up inside their own shop.
Yeah, and do liberals really, this all Muslims aren't terrorists? They think people don't understand that. I mean, of course we do, and of course, obviously there are folks, I think you and I among them, who think that moderate Islam should speak out to a far greater degree than it does when things like this happens. I mean, you have Zuhdi Jasser and others in this country, but of course we don't. But again, it's not as there. Again, it's oranges to apples or whatever you call it. So what? All Muslims aren't terrorists, but generally speaking these days, all terrorists are Muslims, are they not?
Well, yeah. I mean, to point out that, all humans aren't terrorists. So it's unfair to malign humanity because some humans kill other humans. I mean, all of that stuff is thoroughly beside the point. Another thing, and this kind of gets back to what Stein gets into, is the government standing there talking about what we should and shouldn't be saying about stuff. Are there some free speech issues here? I mean, is freedom of the press and the ability to speak one's mind and an anti-speech code,
it's threatened. There's no question it's threatened. Obama said as much. He alluded to it yesterday, did he not, in his statement? He questioned the judgment of the Charlie Hebdo.
Right.
It's directly under attack.
The importance of free speech and the ability to make free speech isn't about things that everybody agrees with. If I were to be criticized for making a statement that sunsets are beautiful, that would be absurd because nobody disagrees with that kind of speech. I mean, I can run all around town talking about sunsets are beautiful, and everybody's on board with that kind of speech. It's the speech that's threatening to some that freedom drives to the center.
There's no question. And when we lose, to paraphrase the old, I disagree with everything you say, but I would defend to the death your right to say it. I mean, to paraphrase, when we cross that line where, you and I abhor the hypocrisy, the policies, the ideology of the far left. But if it was muzzled or modified or, whatever have you, that would scare the hell out of me. It'll never happen, but it would scare the hell out of me. And that's a slippery slope, for Democrats. It's also like the old, they came for whomever, and I did nothing. They came for, and then they ultimately, and then they came for me. Very dangerous territory to tread.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's do the Stein clip, man.
Okay, so set this up. This is Mark Stein on Megyn Kelly's show last night. The context being these cartoons, obviously, and what's been going on in Paris. Go ahead, Jess.
Don't say you weren't warned. Mark, thank you for being here tonight, and I know you knew some of the men who worked at this publication. Your thoughts on what we have seen in Paris today?
Yes, they were very brave. This was the only publication that was willing to publish the Danish Mohammed cartoons in 2006 because they decided to stand by those Danish cartoonists. I'm proud to have written for the only Canadian magazine to publish those Mohammed cartoons. And it's because the New York Times didn't, and Le Monde in Paris didn't, and the London Times didn't, and all the other great newspapers of the world didn't. Only Charlie Hebdo and my magazine in Canada and a few others did. That they were forced to bear a burden that should have been more widely dispersed. I mean, I see all these teary candlelit vigils and everyone claiming some